WI6R, Dave in Kingman, Arizona, and I'll be hosting this evening's roundtable. Tonight, the station I'm using is a Swan 240. This is their first tri-band rig after their monobanders that they started off Herb Johnson building in Arizona, 11 of them, of which I had one, and then moved to Oceanside to start producing the Swans. So we meet every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's 8 p.m. my time, with an informal gathering at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time to record an early check-in list that will be relayed to the host station for the roundtable this evening. This roundtable meets on or about 3895 kilocycles, plus or minus. Try 3892 kilocycles first, depending on whether the frequency is occupied or QRM is present, or any variations in our vintage VFOs. To check into this roundtable, you must be using a radio that was manufactured in or before 1980, or be homebrewed with equivalent technology. Transistor, tube, or hybrid radios are welcome, as long as they were manufactured in 1980 or before. However, if you are a first-time check-in, you may use a modern radio for the purpose of inquiring about joining this group and obtaining a vintage radio. This group is a great resource for finding and repairing vintage equipment, and we encourage vintage radio newcomers. New check-ins will automatically be moved up the list as appropriate. I think that may have changed recently. I have an old 2021 preamble here. We have a website at groups.io/G/vintage SSB with many station photos, files regarding vintage single sideband equipment, and our group also has an email reflector. If you'd like access to the website and the reflector, send an email to Mike, K6ZSR. His address is mike@K6ZuluSierraRomeo.com. We also host a live video simulcast via Zoom. The simulcast is actually during the roundtable sessions. We have Dennis and Lisa, myself and Glenn on tonight, but we encourage people to check in, and if you've got a camera, you can show off your gear as well. We have a consider accessing the KFS web SDR on your computer to hear many more stations when experiencing poor propagation. Enter websdr.org in your web browser, and you can then select multiple receivers to monitor. This is pretty helpful when conditions aren't too great, but I can tell you they are quite good tonight. The Swan 240 does not have an S meter. I put the audio gain at 50% and back the RF gain off to 50%, and if you're loud there, you're 20/9. So I won't be giving any detailed signal reports tonight. We have a discussion topic that we call the question of the evening at each roundtable, and you're invited to participate as part of your check-in. Tonight's question of the evening will be announced shortly, and if you have any suggestions for future questions of the evening, please email them to mike@K6ZSR.com. At the end of each roundtable, there's a Golden Cup Award that's given to a roundtable member who is singled out because of some outstandingly interesting, funny, informative, etc. comment made during their check-in. We encourage that a great deal. That's fun. During the first run-through of the check-in list, you'll be asked to very briefly state your name, location, and the vintage equipment you're using at this time, and offer your response to the question of the evening. Before we begin, are there any announcements only of interest to vintage single-sideband radio topics?
AK6R.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you knew, but we had a vintage sideband or vintage radio. A person passed away about the last 2 weeks. That was Pat, WA6MHZ. And he's got about 300 radios. Everything from the 1950s up to probably 1980, 85. and that includes dozens and dozens of Heathkits in every brand you can think of. And we're looking for a group of folks who can handle that, or if you know anybody, I have about 80 pictures of all the different radios and stuff, and it's going to be available through someone. I'm not going to do it myself; it's too big for me. But if you know of anybody who might be interested in that, let them get a hold of me at ak6r@yahoo.com, my QRZ address, and we'll put them in touch, and they can handle it. Anyway, that's my comment. And back to you, Dave. And by the way, you're 20 over. A very nice signal tonight.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Bob. And are there any other stations wishing to check in at this time? We'll get you down on the list. Okay, I think we've got about 20 tonight. So the question of the evening, which I sent out a little earlier today, hopefully everyone had a chance to see that. And really the question is what is the most recent vintage rig you've put up on the air, and just the make and model of it. We'll keep these short so we can get through it. The second part is, when you were restoring it, did you have any issue finding parts to restore that radio? Just a yes or no is enough. And then the third is with the constant loss of our electronic stores that we came to know well as youth. It's getting harder and harder to find some components. And so if you have a unique source that you've stumbled across that might not be known to others, we'd like to hear about that. And that will be it for this question of the evening. And with that, I'll get started with our first four stations, and that would be John, K6KOI, if you would pick it up first, and then pass it over to Art, KB7LOQ, and Art, if you would pass it to Chuck, N6AF, and then Chuck, if you would pass it to Mike, W6THW, and then pass it back to me, Mike. This is WI6R.
WI6R. This is K6KY. Good evening, everybody. John, Delmar. And tonight I'm using a Heathkit SB104A and the matching amplifier, which is the SB230. And the microphone is a Shure 444D, and the antenna is a 4-wave loop. And so, to answer the question, the most recent vintage rig, and I'm not going to say vintage sideband, because it's sort of a hybrid, it does copy sideband on receive, but not on transmit. It's the Johnson G76 transceiver. I'll say transceiver in quotes because it doesn't share a whole lot between transmit and receive, but they're both in the same box. And no, I did not have problems finding parts for it. And I used the known sources of eBay for a couple of things I needed, one of which is not yet installed, and that's a dual 450 puff loading cap. One of the sections of the two-section loading cap, it was shorted, and I cheated. Instead of replacing it, which I have the part for now, I just put another fixed one in parallel, which works fine on 75 and 40. Won't work so well on the higher bands, which so far I've not even tried. And the only other part that I needed was a cable for the top between the power supply and the transceiver. And I got the shell for it, the insulating shell off of all places, Amazon. They've got some interesting parts available. It's unbelievable. Okay, that's it for me, and thank you so much for taking the helm there, Dave. Over to Art, KB7LOQ, K6KOI.
K6KOI in the group, KB7LOQ. Again, good evening, everybody. Everybody sounds great tonight. We have good conditions. We got a big group, which is cool. I'm running a Hallicrafters SR2000 tonight, putting about 1100 watts out. I hope I'm not splattering or anything. Dave, you're loud here on that Swan, and thanks for taking the net, and Bob for taking the earlies. I was going to premiere a Hallicrafters HT41 that we rebuilt when I was down in Phoenix, but it blew a fuse when I keyed it up, and then I later saw that my tuner wasn't turned on, so I suspect that. It weighs 85 pounds, it's 6 feet high, and it's really a bear to get at. No problem with parts. My parts source is usually Antique Electronics Supply, Mauser, Hayseed Hamfest, and then there's a guy in Michigan, I can't think of his name, but I bought Collins and Hallicrafter stuff from him. So, yeah, no problem so far getting parts. Very good, we'll keep it moving. Over there to you, Chuck, N6AF, KB7LOQ.
All right, very good. Thanks for that. November 6 Alpha Fox, and on the KWM2 and SB220, everything kind of throttled back here, about 500 out to an inverted V at 35 feet. So I'll just get right to the question. The most recent rig, and it's been a couple years really for a significant or I pick these rigs up broken, usually off of eBay, and I kind of went on a vintage repair jag for maybe the first 6 years of my retirement. So the most recent one was not one of the most difficult. It's my Atlas 210X, and a lot of talk about Atlas with KOI and Rocco's. So this one, it was pretty straightforward. Dirty relay contacts. One resistor had gone high in value, which dropped the VCC to a particular IC, but got the thing working. And by and large, with these radios, older radios, they're typically bad electrolytics and a lot of corroded switch contacts. And sometimes an occasional soft tube, but anyway, it's a lot of just old dirty switch contacts, wafer switches, and so forth. That's assuming the prior owner didn't do any bizarre custom mods, so that at least you can follow the original schematic and troubleshoot it that way. So I get a lot of my parts off of eBay, but you can also find them if you put a want. If you've got some bizarre switch for a Collins rig or something, you can go to one of the Collins reflectors or eham.net, QTH.com, and those sort of places. I have a lot of quite a collection of parts here. So typical, common components I have. If I need something bizarre, I'll put a want out there, and it's amazing what you can find on eBay. It's just a terrific resource. But I do miss the days of going into some of the Quinn's Electronics at Oakland Airport, HSC Electronics in Santa Clara. I miss the musty, phenolic, / oily / you name it, kind of smell of those warehouses. That when you smell that, you're going to find that really strange part that you're looking for. W6THW to take it, N6AM.
N6AM, W6THW. You caught me half asleep. No. And my story is about the same as yours.
same places I looked for stuff, parts and so forth. Just about all the places you named and talked about. And let's see, I usually restore AM equipment. The last one was the Viking Mobile. And then I thought, well, you know, I listened to you guys, and I thought, okay, they're doing vintage sideband. I'll get something vintage sideband. So right off the bat, there was a guy that had a HW12A, and I thought, oh, that's great. So I think I got it off a QRZ or QTH, anyhow, one of them. And it came in perfect condition, probably collector condition, not a scratch or anything on it. And then I didn't have to do anything to it, check the tube, you know, did all that, but absolutely nothing. And when I get on a frequency, whatever it is, it stays on it. It doesn't drift one way or the other. And I have an STR pan adapter that I can look to see exactly what frequency it is, and then zero beat that. So that's my latest. And let's see, did I have any questions? Let's see. Yeah, I got something written down here. AK6, what is it? AK6R. Yeah, I think you said at yahoo.com. I'm looking for some heath kit to go along with this one here. I have the SB200, but I like to get the HA14M power supply. That's what I'd rather have for fit better on my desk. So, pretty easy to find the HA14, but the power supply is a bear. So, I have it going to I can't read my own handwriting, WR6R, anyhow, WK6R, whatever, W6THW, Auburn.
All right, thanks very much, Mike. In Auburn, this is WI6R, host for the Vintage Single Sidebound Roundtable this evening. Good signals from everybody. You're pounded in here, just tremendous signals. So this is the way we like it, and very fine on the gear and yes, the common places. Yeah, the eBay is often the spot to look for really hard to find pieces, but some of the more difficult ones can be quite interesting. I'll cover that when I take my round here a little later on here. So the next four we're going to do is going to be Bob, AK6R. And Bob, if you would pass it to Paul, K2LMQ. Paul, if you would pass it over to W6DQ and KF6QNG, and then Lisa, if you would pass it back to me. Go ahead and take it away, Bob.
Yeah, WI6R with a great signal and a great question, as a matter of fact. This is Bob, AK6R. We're here in Fallbrook, California, and tonight we're running the Kenwood TS830, and it's driving a Ameritron AL1500 amplifier, running about 1,230 watts right now, according to the LP700 watt meter, and that's going into a 160-meter off-center fed dipole. 205 feet on one side, 55 feet on the other side. It works all bands, 160 through 6, including 60 meters. Very, very happy with that antenna. So it's the first time I've had it up in about a while. But anyway, signal reports are good both ways. So thanks for listening to that. Let's see what else I have here. In terms of the questions of the evening. Well, I go to a lot of swap meets and I do a lot of estates, and so primarily I get a lot of parts from those, by the way. And I have boxes and boxes and boxes of parts here from estates. And I either usually give those away to people who are looking for stuff, or I keep them for projects of my own, which I don't do a lot anymore. But the last rig that I just got on the air was the Yaesu Fox Radio 101, the receiver, and the transmitter, the FL 101, the separate. And they are driving a FL 2100F linear amplifier with a pair of 572Bs in them. And I have the matching speaker with a Heathkit SWR built into it too. So got everything in there in one station. And I'm driving that with a Shure 444. So haven't put that on the vintage yet, but we'll get to that pretty soon. Very happy. It looks like a museum piece. Had not been turned on for at least 10 years, and we put it to the power and brought it up real slowly, and by gosh, 90% of it worked just fine. So we're real happy with that one. And I have one more pending, and that's the Yaesu FT1. Always wanted one of those, the first solid state one that Yaesu did before it's FT1000 series and stuff, but this is the FT1. And have that, and it's got a noisy fan. Other than that, that looks like it works pretty good too. So those are my two project radios right now. And as far as, like I say, parts wise, either I have them in stock because it's just been a ham for so long, or I do use eBay from time to time for the specific parts. I do go to DigiKey or Mauser, and we can get parts from them. This is part of my normal ordering process anyway. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Good signals tonight from everybody. Let's turn it over to Paul, K2LMQ. See if they're still blowing my S meter off at plus 60, Paul. Go ahead and take it.
Well, thank you, Bob. And good evening, all. And it's a pleasure. It's a great net, a learning experience, and a lot of fun here. This is K2LMQ, Colin Singman. Tonight I'm running the Swan 175, which I never have had to repair. Hope I'm not speaking too soon. And driving the 3001 into an inverted V about 75 feet up. And everybody sounds wonderful tonight. It's great, no noise. No QLM, no nothing. First off, my thanks to Dave and Bob for taking the net tonight and all their efforts. As far as what I'm working on now is the Cosmophone 35. The power supply isn't working, and so I just pulled that apart while we're talking, and it has a couple of tubes in it that I must have somewhere, but I'm not sure if I have the exact ones. It's a 5U4GB, which, God, I must have some of those, and a 5R4GY. And if you guys know of any substitutes for them, please let me know, and I'll start going through the boxes tomorrow. Over the years, I've been redoing a bunch of stuff, including the Viking 1, a Drake 1A, odds and ends, and plenty of things here. And in my list of things to do, I have a Swan 240 also, which is what Dave is running tonight, and it sounds great, Dave. It sounds awesome. The best one I've heard. I've heard a couple of them on the air there. And as far as parts supplies go, it's been eBay or AES or Mauser or somebody like that. And that's pretty much the story here. So I'm going to toss it up to W6DQ, up to you guys. Hope all's well up there. This is KTLM2. Go ahead, Dennis.
W62. What if I can get back up to 3895? Let me try. I'm going to move a little back.
Get back up to where we're... There we go.
Okay. Dave, I hope I'm on frequency now. I shifted a little bit. Dennis here in Yokern. Beautiful day here today. Gosh, clear skies, nice warm temperatures up in the 80s. It's just really nice. I wish this would last, but I know it won't. But rig we're running tonight, S-line number 1, Collins 75S3C, 32S3A with the 30 Sugar 1 amplifier, SM3 microphone out to Palstar HF Auto tuner, which is feeding a 540-foot horizontal loop at 50 feet in the air. The usual stuff. And it's nice to see some new faces. A new old face, Dave, WA6R's on Zoom. He mentioned that earlier. And of course, Lisa and I, and Glenn, and Bob, WA9JIB, just joined us. So good to see you on here, Bob. Thanks for sending me the note. And Dave, great question tonight. The most recent radio that I put on the air was just yesterday. It was a Collins 32S3 that's been sitting on the shelf here for quite a while. And last night I discovered I was thinking I had 3. There's 4 of them sitting on the shelf here. And I'm working on getting them back on the air because I want to sell some of them. But I got the first one is now on the air, so that's the latest vintage rig I've put on the air, and I'm going to bring that hopefully down to Claremont this month to see if we can sell that along with some of the estate from Max, KJ6HN. I've got a bunch of his stuff. I've got 2 of his, the 275S3, a 75S3 and a 75S3A that I got working from his gear. And that's all fixed up and ready to go, so it's like new. It's a beautiful, they're both beautiful radios. So that's been a lot of fun. But getting parts, no problem. First place I always go is my own shop. I've got a 40-foot container sitting next to me here that's just filled with stuff. I've got my own shop is just filled with all kinds of parts. I've been collecting parts for a long time, and I never throw anything away. Just ask Lisa. And of course, as others have said, eBay and swap meets and estates. I've had a lot of stuff come from estates lately, and there's probably 3,000 or 4,000 vacuum tubes out in the container. And so it gives you an idea. I'm dealing with that. But some of the places I go for the like getting components, like resistors and capacitors. I mean, you can always go to places like DigiKey or Mauser, places like that. They've got good supplies of things like carbon comp resistors that we can use in the vintage radios, but you pay for them. So there's a lot of places that surplus that stuff, and I was trying to remember the name. It's the place I use in Florida, and I cannot remember the name of the place. The guy's name, it's, Joe Blow's Surplus or something like that, but I cannot remember the name of it. But I've gotten a lot of stuff from him that I can't find elsewhere, and the prices are right. Finding like a 200-watt wire-wound Ohlmein resistor that's used for the leader resistors in my 550A1 broadcast transmitter. Got them from him. He had them in stock. So that's a great place. I got to find the name of it. Just Radios out in Wisconsin, resistors and capacitors. Lots of good replacement parts there. Antique Electronics Supply, which just changed their name to Amplified Parts. I've bought a lot of stuff from them over the years. I think Art was trying to think of Nationwide Radio and Electronics. That's Mark Olson, KT9PQ. I get a lot of stuff from him, especially Collins parts. And, of course, along with that, Nebraska surplus sales. Lots of Collins there. It's expensive. But
But believe it or not, there's another one up in the Bay Area that I use now. I get a lot of parts from them. It's Janeco. That's a nice little place. I've been getting stuff from them for many, many, many years. And their prices are good. A lot of surplus stuff that they sell. So a lot of new stuff, too. Good place to go to. And I just found one today. I was looking for carbon copper resistors in a place called Lakeview Electronics. And I'd never heard of them before, but I'm looking through their catalog online, and man, they've got lots of carbon composition resistors from just about anybody you can think of in the old days, Omite and IRC and all of that. So pretty neat. But there's lots of good stuff out there. Just got to search for it. Google is always your friend, and I can find just about anything I've ever needed. But I do have a lot of good parts in stock here to keep this stuff running. So that's number one. Bob, I was sorry to hear about Pat. You mentioned WA6MHZ, and I think it seems to me he's got a lot more than 300 radios there. Just chuckle a bit. I was thinking about, unless his new wife meeting, get rid of some of that stuff. But I mean, I remember seeing pictures of the Crest Radio Museum that was like floor-to-ceiling radios throughout the house, little pathways around. So, but man, that's amazing. I'm really sorry to hear that he's left us. He used to do some good programs at the convention on vintage radio. So anyway. Bob, thanks for taking the earlies, AK6R, and Dave, thank you for being host this evening with a great question. I'm going to send it over to my second op here, KF6QNG Lisa, and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable from W6DQ.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you, Dave, for hosting this evening and listening to the stories, and always enjoy the camaraderie and the stories that go along with it all. So don't have an answer for the question, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you, Dave. WI6R from KF6QNG.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa and Dennis, and great signals tonight continuing. This is really fun tonight. We got quite a few check-ins. I think we've got 20 or so, 21 I guess if I count myself, so nice list tonight. I'm going to take a quick break here and see if there's any new stations that would like to check into the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable at this time.
W6WUH, good evening.
W6WUH, we've got you. We'll put you down on the list.
Read the question for me, if you would.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Could you read the question for me? I got here late.
Oh, sure. Okay, so the question of the evening is kind of three parts. What's the most recent vintage single sideband rig that you've put on the air? And if you've restored that yourself, did you have any issues finding parts to do that? The third part is, have you found any new exciting places to find parts that we might not have known about? Particularly since we keep watching all of the electronic stores of our youth close one after the other. So that's the question for the evening, and we have you down on the list, and you're right after George W6YEC. So our next group is going to be Glenn, WB6RLC. Glenn, if you would pass it to Jeff, KK6FRZ. Jeff, if you would pass it to Rocco, N6KN. And Rocco, if you would pass it to Vaughn, K6ZTA. So take it away, Glenn.
All right, Dave. Good to see you on Zoom there. Yeah, that's then Bob showed up, so we got all four corners filled anyway. So Glenn here, Cathedral City, next we're over from Palm Springs, where the desert meets the sand. Let's see. Well, I'm on my usual Swan 400, Shure 444 mic, up to an off-center fed dipole at 32 feet. Well, I don't have a whole lot of answer for the question here. Before I forget, I want to say hi to Ralph. Ralph's a buddy here from the desert, and a desert rat, and actually a local DJ celebrity, a local, I'm not sure if he's doing it now anymore or not, but he DJ'd a couple of local radio stations out here. So I heard him and it's like, I think I know who that is, you know. So anyway, good to hear Ralph. The last radio I worked on is the Hammerland HX50, and didn't need a whole lot of work to get it up and running, just the usual stuff. But technically, I haven't put it on the air yet, so it doesn't meet the criteria. Same with an AM radio that the Heathkit Apache. You know, it's like, okay, I got that up and running, just don't have it on the air yet, so it doesn't work. Let's see, parts. Well, yeah, like some said, eBay and things like that. And I've got a pretty good selection of parts myself, because like several people, I pick things up at estate sales, things like that. But when I work for Parker Hannifin, I bought a lot of the parts for them, a lot of electronics, and I get from Newark, I get, we're closing out all of the original orange drops, and and we've got them at this kind of a price or something like that. So I could buy just all sorts of stuff relatively cheap, and because I get a discount from commercial, and then their closeout prices. So I just got bins of like orange drops and things like that, and and I'd buy one resistor. I'd buy a foot or two of them on a tape. So I get them all cheap that way. And I got some old Radio Shack bins, and that's where I keep everything. So far it's met my needs, but yeah, like others, I go to eBay, things like that when I'm looking for stuff. I haven't had to replace any great big 5-layer switches or anything, so not good, you know. So anyway, I guess it goes over to Jeff, and it's KK6, I think it's IRZ, WD6, RLC in the group.
Okay, very good. Good evening, everybody. This is KK6IRZ, Jeff in the thriving metropolis of Chino, California, and very interesting stuff. I guess I'll have to say that the most recent radio that I could say would be on the air is the one that I'm on right now, which is the HW100, and I'm running that through an FD200 to give it a little bit of oomph, but not really pushing it that hard. And the microphonium is a homemade microphonium that I made out of a little electric condenser mic element and stuck it all inside a D104 body. So it looks like a D104, but it's an electric condenser microphonium. But the most recent radio I had, I don't know if you can really say a receiver is on the air per se, but this afternoon I did get a 75A1 on the air, and had that listening to the old geezers met there at 5 o'clock. All I did so far is just get it up and running. It had some shorted capacitors in it and a couple bad tubes, but with a quick replacement of those bad caps and the tubes that came to life, and I was able to hear signals and all that type of thing this afternoon or earlier evening. So I'll have to recap it all and do an alignment on it, but I'm quite happy with the start on that. And it's in very, very pristine shape, very, very original. Nobody's copied it at all, and cosmetically it's just beautiful. So I'm looking forward to putting that with my 32V2. and make that a nice little combo. But right at the moment, like I say, at HW100, I got this thing probably up and running, I don't know, a couple months ago or so maybe. And it was a fun little project to get up and running. So there you go. As far as parts goes, I got quite a few parts that I've been gathering, but I don't have a lot of space in my current location. So I do have plenty of smaller bins of resistors and capacitors, and I have mechanical things and screws and hardwares and all that type of stuff. But admittedly, I don't have anywhere near the amount of parts that I used to have when I was on the East Coast, at least for smaller stuff. The bigger stuff, honestly, I ran Armstrong Transmitter, the shop in upstate New York for about 10 years. So when it comes to bigger stuff in AM, which I'm kind of much more partial to, not that there's anything wrong with sideband, I just like AM. And for the bigger stuff in the AM areas, I just have people that have stashes of good stuff all over the place, so I can usually find what I need. And then, of course, all the typical places that people have talked about. But one thing that I don't think anybody has mentioned is right here. And that is that there's always a net of guys, there's a vintage sideband, or there's a squad net, or there's an AMI, or whatever, that if you put out some specific part that you absolutely need because you can't, you can't make one, you can't find one, or you can't, find a decent replacement, I found that usually somebody is going to step up and be able to help you out, and for a fairly reasonable price. And then other than that, of course, there's all the other typical places like eBay, Newark, and DigiKey, and all that, Amfest, and stripping them out of other units and all that type of thing. So that's kind of what's going on over here. Most recent one, the 75A1, but the one before that was this one, the HW100. And hopefully this combo is doing okay here on the vintage net. And I guess next it goes over to Rocco. So hearing everybody quite well in the local receivers, and the conditions have been fun and enjoyable tonight. Over to you, Rocco. This is KK6IRZ, Jeff in Chino, California.
Yeah, okay, Jeff and everybody, and good evening to those who joined recently. This is Rocco and 6KN at Rancho Palos Verdes, and the radio I'm on is the second most recent. It's an Atlas 180, and the latest one I actually got on the air is an Atlas 210X. And I will mention a place that nobody's mentioned yet that I found useful for these early analog solid-state radios, and that is you need a lot of little bitty low-voltage electrolytics for these things, lots and lots of them, because they do go bad, and tantalums also. And I use a place called Klondike Mics up in Canada, and they offer little kits, including for these oddball Atlases. And I certainly would recommend them. I found the service good, and all the parts fit where they were supposed to fit, and that's saying something. Other than that, I also use eBay when there's some real oddball thing that I just have to have, such as a special knob for a special receiver or transmitter. That kind of stuff. eBay sometimes can be very helpful. Not all the time, but once in a while you get very lucky there. But you usually pay for it. But if you want that last knob for your SX101 or whatever, that is one place. Your friends are the best bet. I certainly agree with that. All right, let's see here. I'm going to give it to Vaughn, K6ZTA. Take it away, Vaughn.
Okay, thank you, Rocco. Yeah, S6KN, ZTA, Woodland Mills, one of the
cell. Put that plug in. And we've got a 10D microphone and the 2060 antenna tuner and the inverted V at 35 feet. So, well, question of the evening. The last rig that I got on the air that I played with or had to do something with was this 100V. That was a while back. And I don't even remember what I did to that 100V. But it needed something, and I can't remember what it was. What it was. Anyway, and as far as parts are concerned, when I need a part, I go to Bob, JIB, and see if he has it, and especially tubes. But haven't had any needs recently, but I know there's stuff to be done, including going through my SX96 a little more carefully, and probably replacing a couple of things. It's working fine, but it's just not. I don't think it's up to snuff completely. So anyway, that's the end of my chain. So back over to you, Dave. Yes, WI6R, K6STA.
Yeah, real finds on K6STA in the group. WI6R for the vintage single sideband roundtable. Very good. Well, Glenn, we have to hear that HX50 on the air here sometime soon. Jeff, your HW100 SP220, that sounds terrific. And yeah, and Rocco, I think you're running the Atlas 180. I took it, and you're pounding in here, man. You may be the strongest signal over here tonight. And the Klondike mics, that's a new one. That's not one I'm aware of. So that's cool, because we did have another supplier up in Canada, which unfortunately apparently became a silent key while his website continued to collect money from PayPal. But good to hear there's somebody else with those nice little kits, because there are some radios that's really handy for. And my goodness, let's see. We got quite a list tonight, so let's get moving along. Next up, Mike, W7MS, up in Reno. And Mike, if you turn it over to Dave, WJ6W. And Dave, if you would turn it to Ralph, KK6ITB. And then, Ralph, if you would turn it to Doug, I have KN6 Yankee Charlie. I hope I have that call right, and we'll then Doug send it back to me. This is WI6R.
Well, thank you, Dave. WI6R, W7MS, Whiskey 7 Mike Sugar, Mike in Reno, as previously stated by you and myself about 50 minutes ago. But nice to hear you, Dave, on the frequency and back as net control. I can tell you're having fun. And we'll get to the subject at hand. Tonight running a B&W 6100 that's driving the matching LPA1, LPS-1 linear amplifier power supply, a pair of 813s grounded grid, probably about 600 to 800 watts out. Listening to Use All on a Drake 1A. Microphone's a Electro Voice 638. Antenna is my famous boring coax fed dipole, cut for in and about this frequency. So to answer your question, the most recent sideband rig, I've done a lot of other rigs, and I won't run through those. I'll stay on subject, is the rig I'm on tonight, the 6100. Made its premiere back in April, based on my notes here, serial number 237. So that's the setup here as far as parts procurement, the usual issues with electrolytics, yada-yada-yada. But big tip of the hat to John McGrath and 9AMI, who reproduced the front 6100 script via his 3D printer. It may not be perfectly original, but it looks awful spiffy on the front panel. Quite often the overlay's missing, so it gives me some balance to the accoutrements and styling of the 6100. Looks really, really nice. That was a really big favor from Mr. McGrath. And as far as parts procurement, I'm just going to say if I divulge my sources, I'd have to. They're classified. So if I said anything about the sources, I'd have to kill you. And that's to keep it short, Dave. And good evening to everybody. Thanks, Bob, and again, thanks, Dave. And over to the other Dave. And I'm just excited to be here. WJ6W, W7MS.
W7MS and the sideband group WJ6W. Well, Mike, you're still maintaining about 10 over here in Los Angeles area. Just really nice tonight, and that was very nice of John and 9AMI to come up with that overlay for you. Very, very creative thing. So that's a good thing to know. Let's see, we're running our Collins KWM2 tonight and 30L1 into an inverted V up at about 65 feet out back. And let's see, as far as the question, yes, the last radio I restored was, yes, the most recent radio I got and restored was the Atlas 210X, like a couple other guys here tonight. And as others have said, eBay, I think, was the main source of parts for me. This needed a few. It had some problems, including the finals. But the 210X is a very early radio, solid-state radio with integrated circuits. So some of those needed replacing, and I found them all on eBay. And I found the finals, not the exact replacement, but one that was actually had higher ratings. So it was really pretty much the same thing, but that was from RF Parts. And of course, I replaced all the tantalums while I was in there with electrolytics from various sources, like everyone has mentioned here. So that's my story, and yeah, I don't have any really relevant newer places. There was a place called Just Radios that had carbon resistors and capacitors and so on. I hope that's not the fellow that became a silent key that was mentioned earlier. That was in Canada, I believe, Just Radios. So that's the only one I might add if that wasn't mentioned already. So with that, thanks, Dave, for the nice question, and I'll send it on to Ralph. KK6ITB WJ6W.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We do KK6ITB, and the system continues. I have to acknowledge my old friend Glenn. In fact, when I heard him on the check-in, W6RLC, I thought so on the set. And Glenn, thanks for the kind words. No, I'm no longer on the air to take trouble down with our service for 18 years on KPLM. And right now I'm volunteering for a low-power FM nonprofit. I've now retired from living in Bowman. It goes by X95.7, and it's available at X957.FM for one of the now, I've got all the equipment. You can see it. It smells really nice, and it has a factory warranty. But my very first HF grid was given to me, and Glenn, you know Tom, 86WL, he gave it to me as soon as I passed my test. Glenn, by the way, was also my opponent. And I plugged it in and immediately blew a fuse. An old Kenwood hybrid. And the very thing, I couldn't get it to work. I borrowed a Variac, tried bringing it up, nice and slow, and all I did was let out some magic smoke and didn't finish the film. So much for that. As far as the technical is concerned, I've got also a 5-7.2 in my car. And that's a nice old radio, let me tell you. And I used it a while because it's my second car, and that's really broken. And I can play
But at some point, I do want to get the boat anchors hopefully working, and if it isn't working, at least I know I have some parts availability, and then I can always pick your brain, because when it comes to like recap those like AM radio, those classic radio, when and I will call Frank Germany and give you a shout out and say, well, listen, thank you so much for letting me on this thing. Like I said, I'm right in the new year, guys, for JCSBX, and I got the old piece of the puzzle here with my Electro power supply, which is a BF-30FX, a few years old, and I got that. I got the 10-year from a friend. But hopefully we'll do this again. And thank you all for letting me rant, and it's been an absolute pleasure having way too much fun out of that gun of HOA-friendly antenna tonight here on ATS. So thank you for that, and I'm going to take it over now to November 6th, Charlie 2, Kilo Kilo, India Tango Bravo. I gotta go. Talk to you guys later.
Okay, you passed it along.
Who's up next?
Okay, sorry there, Ralph. Yeah, just a little bit weak signal here this evening, but we copied most of all of that. And yes, fuses do serve a good purpose. So you've got some folks nearby with Glenn and so on to help you get some of that vintage gear playing the way it should again. So have good luck with that. And yeah, very good, Mike, on the BMW 6100, and Dave on your Atlas 210X, and then I think we still have Doug, KN6YC. I don't know, Doug, if you were copying Ralph, but it's your turn. Go ahead and take it away, and then I'm going to slip in between you and Jay. KN6YC, Doug, are you there? Okay, I guess we don't hear Doug, so I'm just going to insert myself here for the evening. The rig I'm running tonight is, in fact, the last rig I restored, this Swan 240. This is one that I picked up from Brian NI6Q, and his chickens were nice enough to let me come in, visit, and take this rig away. It was wrapped up safely and securely, and when I opened it up, I couldn't believe the spectacular condition of this rig. It was just absolutely looked like it hadn't been used, and so we put the effort into restoring this rig. No big parts problems. It's pretty simple. There were electrolytic can on the transceiver and two in the power supply, which of course our friends at Hayseed Hamfest have continually added to their list of nice electrolytics to replace. And then I don't know, four maybe paper capacitors underneath that got replaced, and that's been it. And it's just a sweet little rig. It's super stable. I don't have RIT, so I have to. I've tried not to tune around, so tried to stay put tonight. And one part source that I will bring up because it's one I stumbled on. It was quite helpful. There's a part used, and it's a mechanical part in so many rigs from our vintage era, and that's the planetary drives that were used on, Heathkit and Yaesu and many other radios. And I discovered Oren Elliott, O-R-E-N, Elliott products out in Ohio. Not only makes the stamped versions like were made in the UK, but also has some precision machined versions of it, one of which I used on an early 75A4 along with a Japanese copy of the 4-to-1 knob, and it has a beautiful smooth 6-to-1 ratio tuning, and the knob isn't offset, it's centered like it was probably intended to be originally. So that's been a really nice piece, and one of the first rigs I restored was an Aldo 103, which had that 2-speed version of that planetary drive. And Orrin Elliott makes actually two really beautiful ones. They look much like the 2-speed late Swan ones where there's 2 knobs, and they make a 5-to-1, 25-to-1, and a 10-to-1, 100-to-1, which is probably a bit much for what we're doing, but it's a really nice drive and potential to replace some of those early parts that are often hard to find. The most hard are typically mechanical parts, and eBay's usually the source for that if you can't find it. I think I spent 3 years restoring over 100 radios, and I didn't have to search parts. I used mostly stuff that my dad had wisely saved, and that really lucked out, but it can get harder now. So my one new source was a place to find those planetary drives to replace those ones that are weak and slipping. So that's mine, and I'm going to pass it over now. Let's see, we've got Jay, NY6L, to pick it up first. Jay, if you'd pass it to George, Whiskey 8 Victor Golf. George, if you'd pass it to Bob, WA9JIB. And then Bob, if you would pass it to George, W6YEC. And then, well, shoot, we have just one more station on our list, and that's W6WUH. So if you would go ahead and pass that on to Larry, and then pass it back to me, and we'll wrap up with our Golden Mike Award for the evening. So take it away, Jay, NY6L, WI6R.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Dave. If I have to unkey momentarily, I have to cough because I'm still sick with a chest cold, and I've been at it for about a week. But anyway, okay, latest rigs. I picked up not one but 2 of the Atlas 350 XLs. One is pretty much in good working condition except for the notch filter, which needs an IC replaced, and another one that is a parts rig that I'm trying to resurrect, and also that's be the latest rig actually on the air. And for the Atlases, some of them use some of these special ICs, transistor arrays and stuff like that are kind of hard to get. And my source is Radwell. They're on the East Coast. Some of these obsolete linear or digital ICs. And I also ordered from Radwell a part that's very unique to the Swan 350 Delta frequency counter. Not cheap, but it's expensive, and I'm going to jump into that later when I have time and I feel better. So Radwell on the East Coast for those oddball, obsolete, not made anymore ICs, and locally here, Torrance Electronics and JK Electronics in Westminster in Southern California. The last 2, as far as I know, local electronic stores that pretty much has a lot of things there, and that's pretty much it. So we'll keep things moving along. Oh yes, and of course RF parts for finals and RF transistors as well. All right, over to George, W8VG, NY6L Hesperia.
Very good, Jay. NY6L, here is W8 Victor Golf, George, out here in Oro Valley, just north of Tucson by about 10 miles. And I'm running the old Drake gear tonight, driving the SB 220 Drake B line. And let's see, the last sideband gear I restored is probably this Drake B line. But the last vintage gear I restored was some pre-war stuff. I'm trying to get a 30 station going here, and went all through a year ago this summer. Went all through a Breading 12 communications receiver from about 1936, probably 37. And I've got that paired with an old Utah Junior transmitter that I went through and got back on the air. Let's see, parts, a lot of the places mentioned I've used. Jay, I like Torrance Electronics. I still get up there when I visit the old area, and certainly Orvax out in Fullerton, where I used to live there in Orange County. We've got some good stores here in Tucson, oddly enough. We have Elliott's Electronics down south of town. And they're a lot like Orvax out in Fullerton. They kind of remind me a little bit of Orvax. They've got a lot of stuff, a lot of parts. And then next door, here about the last 2 or 3 years, they started a new place called EE Surplus. And there's everything in there, from old avionics to military gear, test equipment. They've got a section with some old boat anchors, some 390s for sale, and just lots of bins to root through. I was down there 2 weeks ago and came back with a new air ducts mini ductor. Looks like it's straight out of the box. And I found a couple old Bud link coupled coils I think I can use in good shape too. I can use with my 30s project here I'm working on. Dearly love that place. They could probably lock me up in there and I could spend the whole night rooting through stuff. So that's pretty much what's going on here, and we'll keep it going. Let's see, it goes up to La Cañada. Bob, WA9JIB, take it away. Here is W8 Victor Golf.
Okay, George, W8VG and the Roundtable. This is WA9JIB. Bob over here in La Cañada. And what a nice night it is. Dave, thank you so much for stepping in and pinch hitting. You're doing a great job. And Bob, thanks for taking the earlies. And Dennis, thanks for getting me set up on Zoom. Yeah, I've been on Zoom many times, and I never knew where to find that reverse image thing. Now, why they would make the default a mirror image instead of the proper image, I don't know. And I was looking in various places, but your suggestion directed me right to the place where I needed to be. So anyway, thanks so much for that. And fun to be on Zoom tonight again, too. So yeah, I'm starting out, my signal chain starts out with my MC50 microphone by Kenwood. After that, it's all Helicrafters. HT32B is the transmitter. SX115 is the receiver. I got these from Rocco about 4 years ago. I love them dearly. And so that's my most recent vintage rig that I put on the air. I've picked up a few other things since then, but I haven't put them on the air yet. The antenna is an 80-meter dipole hanging off a 35-foot mast attached to the house. Inverted V, the ends out in the trees in the front and the backyard. And I do feed it with coax. I do go through an MFJ tuner. So anyway, let's see. As far as the question goes, any issues? I've done a little repair on both of these. I wouldn't say I did any restoration because I didn't need it. It's in good shape. And somebody else, I can't remember. I worked on the transmitter a while back. I can't remember what I did to it. And I usually keep a log, but I think I wound up the switches needed to be worked or something like that. So anyway, I'm getting output on all the bands I've checked recently, 80, 40, 20. I don't know that I've gone up to 15 and 10 with it. So, but on the SX115, I've done some work a couple of times. There was a resistor in it in the AC line called a candome resistor. It just basically is in a metal case and it bolts to a sort of a shield on the bottom of the chassis. And it just basically is there to get warm and keep the receiver warm so that there's no thermal gradients when you turn it on. And that was open, and so where did I get that replacement? I had some in a box, and I probably picked them up at a Scars meet. Sometimes they're called power resistors, candome resistors, but the candomes are specifically designed to be mounted to a metal just a little metal wall or something. And I remember the one that I didn't have the exact right resistance. I think it was 200 ohms, and the one I had was 120. And it came out of an old radio. Actually, I now remember, it came out of an old radio that somebody was giving away at Scars. And it was a nightmare to get this thing out of there. It was riveted in. And of course, the side I had to drill the rivet out from was really hard to get at, and I almost gave up a few times, but I finally got the thing out, and then was through the box, and wouldn't you know, a few years later, it was exactly the one I needed, or so close to the one I needed, it does the job just fine. So a candome resistor, hard to find. I've got a bunch more, but none are close to the resistance value that I needed. Also, I lost signal in the 115 a few weeks ago and traced it down to a bad 12AT7 in the crystal oscillator. And I do have a stash of about 4,000 tubes also. We probably had about 6 12AT7s, and this one was in a little white box I made that had the initials VC on it, which are Vaughn's initials. So that 12AT7 that I'm using right now to listen to y'all came from K6ZTA. Other than that, yeah, I always ask the gang first. Ron, K2RP, always comes through with tubes when I need them. Bob, AK6R, sent me some mic cables. My good friend K6DDX, who passed away, I got a lot of parts from him, and especially after he passed away when his daughter was just trying to clean things out. Unfortunately, a lot more got tossed that I never did get. Dennis, WQHO, if I ever needed a tube, he just lives not too far from me. I'd come home from work the next day and there'd be 6 of them sitting on my front porch. I have not been able to reach W6QHO. I'm afraid he might be at Silent Key now. Scars Meet, great place to just find all kinds of parts. The Pasadena and Glendale City College swap meets. I've also gotten boxes of electronic stuff for $2 or $3, and it takes you 6 weeks to sort them out, but sometimes there's treasures in there. Local guy from the Crescenta Valley Club had some electrolytics I needed for my Night Span Master. All electronics is gone. That was really sad. Marvec is gone. Fry's is gone. And yes, if I need, I have resorted to eBay for knobs for my SX101. And there's a story behind that, but I won't go into it now. So anyway, that's what I do. I have not wanted to confront the 1,000 pages of catalog for Mauser or DigiKey. So I usually ask friends first. And so that's what I do. Okay, yeah, it is getting to be a problem, but fortunately, I, like Dennis, don't throw anything away, and I have tons and tons of parts. And most of them I'll never use, but, you never know which one you're going to need, and it sure is nice to have it there when you need it. Okay, over to W6YDC. Man who's got as many parts as all of us, I'm sure. WA9JIB.
Okay, very good, Bob. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. W6YEC. Thanks, Dave, for running the net. Good question tonight.
And George down here in Lemon Grove, they're running the Drake TR4CW here this evening, and a 30L1 amplifier, full-wave loop up about 40 feet. So that's the setup this evening. And I guess my NC98 that I restored is probably one of the last receivers, and along with that an SB303 that's sitting right here that I have coupled with the KWM2, and I can couple it with this Drake receiver, transceiver as well. And I wanted one of those a while back, and one of our friends here that knew where one was located, and he rounded it up for me and sent me actually chassis with parts in it, and so I took the good cabinet and put the restored receiver into that cabinet. It looks real nice sitting here, an SB303. I had one back in the 70s and really liked that receiver. It makes a nice matching, or not matching, but receiver with the KWM2 and the Drake transceivers to have a separate receiver if I want it. So that's probably the last thing. And speaking of talking about parts, so locally here we have a place called a surplus place called Murphy out in El Cajon, and they do a lot of stuff on the internet, and they've got a ton of things organized out there, and so that's a place I go to see if I can find a part that I need, and I've gotten several real nice things there actually. So that's one way we handle it here. And then since we're talking about parts, let me see here. I had a note here. A friend of mine, N6TYF, is looking for the speaker that comes out of the HS1661 heat kit. And it's a 7x5 inch speaker. And so I'm putting that out there to see if anybody in the heat kit that might have that speaker available. And he needs the just the speaker itself, not the housing necessarily. So if somebody has one at a good price, you might get a hold of me and let me know. 619-277-6043. So we're trying to find that for Mike. And it's a speaker for a Swan, actually. It's the same size speaker that the Swan R600 uses in the speaker cabinet. So that's what we're looking for, not for the heat kit necessarily. It's the same speaker, though, looking at them. All right, that's it for me. Thanks a lot again, Matt. Good to be here tonight. I haven't been able to really get in on the Vintage Net regularly, but the next 2 weeks, coming tonight, I'm free, so it's always an enjoyable net to sit here and listen to all the different responses. Larry, it's your turn, and here it comes. W6WUH, take it away. W6YEC, and then I can send it back to Dave.
Larry. Go ahead. All right, thank you, George.
W6YEC and the group W6WUH. Barefoot tonight on the Swan SS200. Got in here late and didn't want to sit up the amplifier. Signals are very strong. Everybody's at least 10 over, some were 20, which is unusual. That's got the RFC cranked half of the way down. Well, let's see. The last thing I really did a real overhaul on is the Globe King 500A that I got from Jay a couple of years ago, and I did a complete overhaul on it, and needed some repairs in the RF deck, and was able to, my wife bought me a real capacitor, an LCR meter for a real one, and that was instrumental in being able to track down the bad values in some of the fixed loading capacitors and that thing, and get that squared away. And, some screen
screen voltage issues and the usual recapping and resistors and cables and stuff. But all worked out fine. But initially, I was just having cherry red plates. It took quite a bit of time and were multiple problems, but we got them all squared away. I have no wonderful part sources to relate. I don't, but I really like using Newer. I really like their online catalog system. When I wanted to put new filter caps in the Centec Type 2 linear amplifier, I was able to read the specs. They must have had 50 different kinds of electrolytic capacitors that I could have used. But because the specs are so detailed, I was able to find some with a 5,000 hour typical life, which was outstanding, and I bought those. And I was surprised to find that some of the rather expensive American brand made filter caps had a service life of 1,000 hours, which is really on the low side. So I really like using it quite a bit. We have no good electronics parts places around anymore. HSB is gone. They were wonderful. I used to deal with it for 20 years. And they just quit. And that was my go-to here in Northern California for going someplace and actually buying something for HSB with it for an awful long time. But we got nothing like that anymore. We used to have 2 or 3 right here in Sonoma County. Now we got nothing. And the Bay Area is about zip. So I don't know if that's the story. I got 2 or 3 things taken apart and quite a few on the back burner. The other transmitter I worked on recently is the 4.5 gigahertz one, but that's the one I cooked my dinner on. I'm working on a very rare spy receiver, part of the SSB R1, and I got that belly up on the bench. I haven't had time to finish it, but it's getting recapped, and I'll build up a power cord for it. We found the right 5-pin ethanol for it, and we'll get that going again and get it back to the K6 IRL. 92 years old, so I want to finish that and get it in. But other than that, absolutely nothing intelligent to say. WI6R, thanks for taking it, Dave. W6WUH.
All right, Larry. Thanks very much. W6WH and the Vintage Single Sideband
Roundtable. This is Dave, WI6R from Kingman, Arizona. All right, good roundtable tonight. Lots of good information. I know you guys in Southern California, you've got lots of little nooks and crannies with parts, and that's always very, very helpful. There was a couple of notes on our Zoom meeting here about an Aldo night, because I mentioned the Aldo 103. So maybe we should just have an A night, and we can have Atlases and Aldos or something like that. we can bring out all the little rigs. There's quite a interesting story about the Aldo and how it came about, and some high points of it, which I've taken notes from too many sources, so I can't own up to knowing all of them, but I've got quite a bit of information on them. So we'll have to think about that. So, boy, it's tough tonight. A golden mic award. I'm going to do a silver mic award as well. And this is really, really tough. But I'm going to pass the golden mic award to Rocco N6KN for Klondike mics, because I can tell you how much time is spent going down the Mauser list and moving across and reading the dimensions of the replacement electrolytic to see if it's going to appropriately fit in the location you want to put it. And there's so much time spent. if you can find a kit where they've gone to that effort, that's terrific, and I will pay the price not to spend hours and hours doing that. So I'm going to pass the Golden Mike Award tonight to Rocco, but I'm also going to have a Silver Cup Award tonight because I was just waiting for someone to say this. And Mike, W7MS, I'm not giving up my sources. So, Rocco, take it away and pass it over to Mike. N6KN WI6R. Well, I guess Rocco didn't stick around, so Mike, are you there? I'm talking into the ether. All right. Well, thanks everyone for participating tonight. It was a good net, and look forward to them each week here. So this is WI6R for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. And we'll be passing the frequency back to everybody else that wants to use it. And let's see, a question for George. The 5x7 speaker, that was a common car audio speaker in the 60s and 70s. It's used in Heath and Drake and Collins gear. You have to watch the auto radio ones are typically kind of expensive because they're trying to sell you some fancy new ones. You want the simplest ones you can find, and of course Surplus Sales of Nebraska usually has stock of the original Collins speaker, which works fine in both the Drake and Heathkit speaker cabinets. So with that, I'm going to say 73s to everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is WI6R. We're going to do our team.